Okay. All right, so in Canvas, on the home page, I have a section called Custom Brushes, How to Make a Brush, and I have a collection of brushes. The first thing you look at is How to Make a Brush, which is a informative PDF that basically goes through how to prep work that you may have sketched in your sketchbook. You bring it into Photoshop, you can apply levels. This is a little bit more like involved. This is if you're going from your sketchbook and you want to go from your sketchbook to Illustrator and how to make a brush. So again, very good info if you want to follow along with that. And it goes, some of these steps we are going to do, and that's coloring. So we've been over that. So what I want y'all to do though is download this, and this is what we're pretty much going to play with, is this collection of custom brushes. So if you haven't done so already, download that in Canvas. It's a little bit over 100 megs, but it's got multiple files in it that are going to be handy that we're going to use. And let me unzip that. All right, so then we have these files. Blender brush, book brush examples, chain brush, custom brush tutorial, peacock brush, that one's fun. Tooth monster brush, that one's fun. Tree and cloud brush example. All these are just my brush examples. So you have all these AI files, even EPS. We can play with all of them. Let me open up some of these to figure out which ones we're going to dig into. Let's see, peacock is fun. Custom brush. Okay, that one's okay to play with. Tooth monster. That one's fun to play with. Chain is a good example of what Illustrator brushes can do. This is my book examples where I use brushes to create this, so that's always a good example to kind of play with. I have something called a blender brush, which is a nice kind of soft brush. You can always, in any of these brushes, you can always copy and paste. I give you full, I relinquish rights on this brush. You can copy and paste this one to your project if you want. These other ones are a little bit more customed, so just be sure you ask before you use. Tree and cloud brush example, that's a great one. It's kind of like sets up your environment or your setting if you want. All right, so let me go over how I'm going to make some of these. Let me go to this one right here, because this kind of shows my stages of developing this book cover that I did for Clockwork Orange. There's my line work. There's my coloring. And then, that's it put together. Now, in this situation, I may not have had the area or opportunity to use a custom brush, but this one I did. So this one was the Mountains of Madness. And you see there's kind of like these, kind of explorers, and they're kind of coming into a cave. So you're like in the cave and you're looking out, so it has like this kind of silhouette. But I wanted this kind of, I don't know, ominous feeling, like there's a monster in there or something. So all these eyes are like brushes that I made. And then the teeth, which are the stalactites and stalagmites. I don't know the proper terminology. I think that's it. The ones are from below, one are from above or something. So that's basically it right here. Is I draw out the shapes that I want. Even this very organic shape was based off of this right here. So you draw the things that you want and you can make brushes out of them. Now, where's the original in these eyes? Right there. So that's the original. So you focus on one thing. So if I know I'm going to repeat something, you just focus on it. Now, let's talk about color. Now this, I don't need color change on. That I want it to stay in that color. So when I drag it to make a new brush, which I'm going to pull my brushes out. I have a lot of brushes in here because that's what this one was about. When I go to make this one, you select what you want to make a brush with and you drag it into the brush palette. Now, this could be a scatter brush, which that would kind of make sense, but I'm going to do an art brush and I'm going to hit OK. Now by doing that, it's going to pull me to this screen, and this first section, which I'm going to title it because that's always good, Weird Eye, that makes sense. And then the width can be based on pressure. So I can actually use pressure to adjust the scale of this, but I know where I'm going with this, so I'm going to go back to fixed, and I'm going to use scale proportionally. Scale proportionally means that if I draw a short line, it'll be small. If I draw a big line, it'll be big. It basically scales by the length of the line. I'm going to do that. For colorization, I'm going to do none because that's the color I want to keep. Usually, sometimes you do a hue shift, and that'll change the color. But for this one, and then the other thing you want to look at is direction. Now, this is a very circular object. So if I draw it top to bottom, it'll look like this. Or if I draw bottom to top, it'll look like this. It just depends on how you want to draw it. Is basically how the direction in which it will scale or move. I'll just do that. So this is, let's see, I'll do bottom to top. I'm more comfortable that way. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to create the weird eye brush that I just made. Make sure you click off of this because you have a lot of lines in there. So you click off. I hit the letter B for brush. I select my weird eye brush. And then as I draw it, you see I get, and look, see, small lines are small. Big lines are big. Look how smart and fast I'm working now. Okay? That's the whole point. So I can do a monster with like multiple eyes really, really fast. Okay? All I had to do is just focus on one. Now, let me show you this. This one's a little bit different, like this, these stalactites, stalagmite. You notice they're color, they're based on color, and it was actually based on this shape right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. Hue shift works on things that are white. So white, just think of white paper. When you're going to color on something, what are you going to color on? White paper. That's what you're going to color on. You don't take a black sheet of paper or a dark sheet of paper to color on. That's not going to represent the color very well. So we start with white, like a white canvas. We bring that in. Again, art brush. Hit OK. Now, this is something Illustrator needs to work on. We can't see it because it's white. But the way I would draw this, yes, is from top to bottom, just the way I would draw it. So the direction is right. I'm also going to, I'll do like mountain spike or something because I can't spell stalactite pretty much. So let's see, stretch to fit stroke length. I might go with that. And I'll show you like different ways that you can approach this. And I might put that too. Watch, I'm gonna do stretch. Just so I know it's a stretch effect. Mountain spike, stretch. It's going in the down direction. This is gonna be based on hue shift, and the color is white, which that's all correct. So sometimes they'll give you this eyedropper so you can like, click somewhere in here to get the right color, but it's already right. So I'll hit OK on that. Click off of it. That's always a super important step there. Let's see. No, we're good there. I'll see if I can go bigger. All right, mountain spike stretch. I'm gonna hit the letter B, going top to bottom. Okay, so that's how that looks. Not bad, okay? I'm gonna undo that. Now watch where the color comes in. It's usually based off the stroke color. Going to CMYK. Do something like this. See? So whatever color I choose, and even if I'm looking at this, that's a little off too, so that's kind of crazy. So my my eyedropper must have been not working right. If I double click on this, I can make some alterations. Tints and shades, you can see how, see it'll, because this is check preview, it'll update live, but hue shift is the one you're looking for. Now why? It should give me the exact color. I don't know why it's not though. So that's that one. So that's stretch. Let me do another one where it is scaled. Now, sometimes I do that a lot. I'll take this one, I'll look at it, I'll be like, okay, I like that, but maybe in some circumstances I'm gonna use that. So then I take the same brush right down here and I drag it and I make a copy of it. So now I got two. But on the other one, instead of stretch, it's gonna be scale, right? Scale. And then I'm gonna check this box. I'm just letting myself know the difference. And I'm gonna hit OK. Now that's my other one. Let's see how this one operates. Let's see, smaller stroke goes small, but a big stroke, it makes it big. So that might be cool to get what I'm trying to get here. You know, I'm trying to get that big, large, and I can even take these strokes, I can scale them up like that. It'll affect it. Let's see. It's kind of cool. And obviously I can use this, you know, to create a space. You know, it's kind of like monster teeth, I guess. But yeah. And this one is the same way. I drew out something. I made it into a brush and I stretched it so I get this. So hitting B, you know, I could do something like this. Kind of like some spooky stuff, I don't know. But anyway, that's how I did that. Let's go over to this other book. Some cool stuff here. I love this one right here. Very whimsical. These are probably where they all started. There's this dust, if I can find it. There it is. That one's pretty cool. See, that one's based off the color. I can change the color. It'll change the color of the brush. So a lot of different ones in here. Yeah, that's all the same. This is where I created this one. Calligraphic. There's a leaf right here, which is probably based off of that. So kind of creating leaves in the wind type thing. I love this one though. That's a really cool one. And it all started with just this. I just made one thing, this. And then with my calligraphic brush, that's my pressure brush, I just drew this, and then I grabbed the whole thing and I dragged it to make a brush. This was an art brush. And I did stretch. That's how that one worked. Whoops. Okay. So those are some good examples right there. All right, let me show you like some other, this stuff is kind of abstract. This one's fun. If you got any kind of chain link stuff in any of your compositions, you know, or like a stick. I did some sticks here. See, these are based off a scatter brush. Scatter brush has a little bit more to it. Looks a little complex. I'll show you how I do a scatter brush. So I'm starting with one link. That's all you gotta, well, you gotta draw like 2 links, 2 positions right there. So let's just say we start with that. I'm gonna go this way when I draw it. So this is how I start something like this. So it's gonna be a scatter brush. I'm gonna hit OK. Now I don't change anything right here. So I'll type in what it is, you know, chain link 1. Maybe I'll do multiples. I'll hit OK. Now I click off of it, super important. I find that chain link 1, I hit B, and I draw out a line, okay? As smooth as I can, right? And I might do one that's like, that curves, just so I can see the difference. So, with those 2 drawn out, I go back into my brush, because those are linked, those are the same ones. If I make changes, I'm gonna see those changes. And that's kind of the whole point. So spacing, that's negative. So I start to move that. That looks about right. But this one's not right, okay? That has to do with rotation. See, it's right there, rotation. So is it tilt? No. Is it rotation? No. Ah, never mind, it's relative. Here it is. Rotation relative to the path. There we go. Let's see, it links to that path. Very cool. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I could mess with the sizing a bit, but if I mess with the sizing, I gotta mess with the spacing, right? Get it closer back together. Scatter is as it scatters away from that line. So if you have, you know, you could do random, see? But if you have something that needs to be scattered, like if it's like a fire blast or a water blast or leaves need to be scattered. That's where you would use scatter. You scatter, the two numbers here are going in opposite directions. But this one does not need scatter. It needs to be on one line. And I need to get this one back to 0. So right there. Rotation is exactly what it is. You know, you can rotate it. You can randomize the rotation too. Again, that'd be great for things that need to have that scatter, like leaves. But that's what I need right there. That's it. And then you can also do colorization if you need that. Since it is white in there, let's see how that works. I'm gonna hit OK. Apply to strokes. And then I'm gonna select these strokes. I'm gonna change that white to something else. Yeah, okay, so that works. The white changes, but the black stays, which is kind of cool. So I could create something like that. So that's using the scatter brush. You can use that all sorts of ways. See, those are just like some abstract. I really dig that. That's kind of cool. Did some shadows in there. Anyway. All right, so that's that one. Tooth monster. I mean, it's pretty much the same situation. I drew one tooth, and then, you know, I just kind of made a whole bunch. And then I like drew this amalgamation creature just with all these different brushes and stuff. If I show you the line work, I mean, look, like that's it. It's kind of weird. You know, those are all custom brushes, but, you know, that's what it comes out to, which is kind of fun. Shows you like the power of it. You can do textures. See, I kind of just did some hatching, created that into a brush. Here's a like a branch with some leaves coming off of it. That's perfect way to use brushes. Just kind of fill in an environment. Now remember, you can color these prior to making a brush. So if you know that's the color you're gonna have, you can make it colored and then make a brush out of it. So it doesn't have to be white fill. I just do that just so it's easier to manage. All right, going to this peacock here. So here's an example of where I used, I drew out the head, did all that. Actually, this was like pen and ink, and I scanned it in. Same thing with the feathers. And then I made brushes with each of them. So in that PDF document, I go over the steps on how I did all this, but so you can always like look over that. And I created these. I created these, let's see, large. Yeah. Now this was a stretch between guides. You can actually create guides, so it'll only stretch between that. It won't stretch this. That's kind of cool. That helps sometimes. And this one, oh no, that's the same one. Yeah, this one's just a stretch, no stretch between guides. Let's see, I got a medium feather. I think these are all pretty much stretch. Yeah. Oh no, that's a scale proportionally. And then I did the small feather. So I made brushes with all these. And then by choosing a color, I was able to do that. So let me check my layers here. Yeah, the head should be sitting on top. So if I'd start in order, I'm going to probably do the big feathers first. Let me do large stretch. Okay. Cancel that one out. Let me choose a color here. Yep, that's right. So it's like easiest composition ever. I'm just showing you how fast I can work when you use brushes. And then let's see, I'm gonna go something a little darker maybe. And then I'm gonna come on the inside. All right. Let's see. Let's go that way. All right, and then I got a medium feather. Might totally change up the color here. Whoa, too big. And let's see what the small one does. Pretty cool. I would probably go in and do, let's see, obviously to clean it up, I would come out here and do something like this. Trim view, something like that. I mean, yeah. But hey, I showed you a quick composition using brushes. And that took me like 2 minutes, So mostly all the time I spent was planning the brush. That was what that was about. So anyway, so that's it. These documents are for you to play with. I have so many brushes in these. Just look for them in your brush palette. It's just to kind of give you inspiration on how to create brushes. I I do want you to use these in your book somehow. Use some sort of custom brush for your book, because that's part of learning Illustrator and learning being a graphic illustrator, you know, to kind of work efficiently. This is a fun document right here to play with. I did clouds. I did a grouping of clouds, and I even have opacity working in there, and then it works. So if you can do opacity and then drag it in, it'll create a brush. I mean, it'll work through. So that's a stroke with an opacity cloud that works as a brush. These birds, they're a scatter brush. So that's a great way to use scatter right there. And these are all just different colorizations of trees. You know, it has a particular style to it, but yeah. Cool deal? Nice.